All right, Zach, here we go. Week 14 is basically in the books, and it is officially the start of a new week. So it is Monday, December 14th. Welcome to our Living Room Sports Talk. Cameron Colley, the great Zach Rothenberger on with us. And, it's first time, Zach, in a minute we've done a little duo show. We had a full slate of trio last week, right?
Yeah, we've had some great guests on, and it's been a while, so we got a little one-on-one action here tonight.
It's fun. Yeah, just me and you. Hey, sorry, I feel like we can always rock that with like the football recaps.
Oh yeah, that's our bread and butter, as they say, right?
Yeah, I know, right? It's funny too because I was doing all the production stuff this morning. I was looking at it, and normally with all this COVID stuff, there's been like a Tuesday game, 2 Monday night games, and I was like, wow, we have a lot of games to go over today.
Yeah, right. Yeah, it's a little sense of normalcy. I kind of like the Tuesday games, not because of why they got there on Tuesday, but it was nice having.
It gives us something to talk about too. I feel like, you know what I mean?
Yeah, for sure.
Like Tuesday, a little Tuesday football. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
But all right, but we had a lot of games. We had a lot of games this Sunday, and then obviously the Thursday night game was pretty eventful too. So we'll do all those recaps, and then obviously we got a little Mojo Monday, and we'll talk a little bit about the Monday night game tonight, which is also going to be a really good game. I feel like, right?
Oh, I think so. This is a big game. Big game.
Yep.
Browns trying to prove themselves, and the Ravens trying to reestablish who they are, in the NFL.
That +3 spread, it's so vexing.
It's definitely tricky, that's for sure. We got the picks out today, so we have.
We gotta get that link out for everybody.
Yeah, we got the 3 picks lined up, but it was tough to choose. I will say it was very tough to pick this one.
Yeah, well,
Yeah.
But I'll say it's that point. Should we get everything started with a little clickbait cleanup like we always do?
Let's do it.
All right. All right, you want to go first?
Yeah. Let's get it done. I mean, so we know the NBA is starting up officially next week. They're doing some preseason and exhibition games right now. So naturally, the NBA clickbait is going to start to heat up. So via Tim Bontemps, an NBA scout. An NBA scout was asked who they think the best player in the NBA is, and he said, I'd say LeBron, but I'll tell you what, that guy in Dallas coming, that dude is going to win multiple MVPs. First off, he was asked who's the best player now, not who will be. And even then, there's still at least probably 8 players, I would say, above Luka Doncic. No offense to him, because he's a good player, but he's young. He's early on. Like, so many things can happen.
That's such clickbait. That's exactly what it is.
Right. And, of course, it was LeBron was the cover, so naturally, But NBA clickbait's heating up, long story short. And now it's the whole debate of who's the best player. Ooh,
that's a hot stove always, too.
Yeah, every year. They're cooking.
Oh, yeah.
Don't eat it.
All right, well, so at that point, I'll push it up into the more, the sport going on right now, big time. Football. Yeah, I don't know. Obviously, it's funny we're talking about Monday night, Lamar Jackson, the Ravens and stuff, and here we are with a little clickbait from WIP with mentioning that the little spark of Jalen Hurts for the Eagles is, it has a chat to it, and I love it. We have the chat cooking a little bit early. Jalen Hurts is basically what Lamar Jackson could have been, that shot in the arm, if you will, a few years ago for Baltimore when they made that switch up. It's not the same thing. There's so many just different wrinkles, right, to that?
Yeah. Oh, I would say so. I mean, one player, just because it's one game, first off. It's just one game. All right, there's still a lot left to see. He had a great game. It's just one game, though. So pump the brakes on Lamar Jackson talking. Plus, what has Lamar Jackson done besides MVP?
And the Saints didn't play well at all. I feel like that was more the takeaway for me personally.
Yeah, no.
All right, we'll get to that point. Do you want to just jump into it? I mean, there was a lot. I mean, there's all sorts of fun stuff with these recaps. I mean, right? Look, you had it's funny. I wrote down here. You had a lot of revenge games yesterday. You had Andy Dalton going back and playing against Cincy. You had Alex Smith going home to play the 49ers. 2 interesting things too to that point, right? Like those weren't expected. Right, like when the season was released, like Dwayne Haskins was supposed to be the starter, and then it was supposed to be Kyle Allen after him, right? And then Andy Dalton it wasn't supposed to be playing. Obviously, Dak Prescott was, and the way I look at it is, it's you got Malcolm Jenkins going to Philadelphia, you got Jamal Adams playing the Jets. And there was all sorts of good games. We got the chat cooking tonight, which I love. So let's jump into this Eagles game, right? I'm trying to make sure. Let me see if this chat's loaded up here. Oh, wow. Let's get that up for him. There we go. So look at this. I have to do. We'll clean up on the production. Right. I'm always gonna bobble something. I love it. It's almost
Hey,
a
it's
game.
Monday.
Like, what's that?
It's Monday.
It's always the.
There we go.
All right, but to that point, let's jump into that Eagles game and Saints. Right. So I guess that's my starting question. Let's look at the chat. Right. We got Rick saying that the Eagles shouldn't have won yesterday. And like we're right to you, hey, it's one game against the best team in the league. Hey, you'll take it, right? Hey, I think that's you can only beat the teams in front of you, and he's 1-0 as their starter. So I think there's something to be said about that, right? I don't know if there's enough time, right? If we want to dive in the whole playoff dialogue, right? I don't know, how optimistic I feel about their chances, but at the same point, right? You have to feel good, right? If he's a second round pick, like if it works, it works. I don't know about the whole idea he's Lamar Jackson, but at the same point. Also, I mean, Lamar Jackson's got to. I mean, this is all my point tonight. He's got to start winning. He's got to win a playoff game this year.
He's got to prove himself.
Oh yeah. He's like he's good at being the LaDainian Tomlinson Chargers of like you're really good in the regular season, but like then what? It's like you kind of get caught your pants down every year in the playoffs. So I still want to see what he can do. But all right, let's get back to this Eagles game. Right. All right, was this game more about the Saints losing or the Eagles winning?
I think it's about the Eagles winning personally because, obviously the big quarterback change, all the drama, quarterback controversy, the head coach is Peterson, his job on the line, et cetera, et cetera. And Jalen Hurts goes in, and it wasn't even just about the way he played. We hit on this a little bit last week, but the whole team, the defense woke up. The defense played probably its best game of the year against a very talented offense, obviously. So, to me, that speaks more about the leadership that Wentz didn't have. Not to harp on the Wentz, bashing Wentz train, but Hurts came in and it was like a facelift to the whole team, not just the offense. And you add his extra mobility and some of that playmaking ability as well, and it did a lot for the team. I think the team just rallied around him and they're buying into him. I mean, it's only one game, so let's not get too excited. But he won against one of the best teams in the league, supposedly.
Right. So I think there's a few takeaways. So the first thing, this stat always blows my mind too. That Doug Peterson, his record as with the Eagles as head coach with a backup quarterback starting is 11-3. That's pretty remarkable, right? I mean, that's pretty wild. I'm pretty sure it's 35-33 with Carson Wentz. So I mean, that's an interesting stat to me. But anyway. Not that I'm like suggesting anything. I'm just saying it's interesting. All right, but to that point, I think, and going kind of what Brian was saying in the chat. I mean, look, like first of all, it's not a fluke to beat the Saints, but this makes the race tighten up. Gets interesting now. You know what I mean? Like no offense, right? Obviously, the Giants with a tough game. We talked about this, right? We're gonna get to that. I should have cut that highlight of how I try to forecast what's gonna happen for you.
Yeah.
But I think what's interesting about the Eagles, and this is what I wrote down. Look at their schedule, right? At the Cardinals. So for anyone that wants to actually sit here and do like the whole are they real, right? Like we want to have that barometer going across out west to play a hungry, desperate Cardinals team that has been a little they just lost. I think did they lose the last? Yeah, they definitely lost the last home game.
I believe, yeah.
Oh yeah, lost to the Rams. That's who it was. Sorry, it was escaping me. And right, so they know they got to win that game at home. The Eagles need to win obviously that game to stay alive. Then they have the Dallas Cowboys, who also need to win, and we'll get to them a little bit later in the show with their win against Cincinnati. And then they play Washington, who's right now in the driver's seat, but they can obviously do a big, if it gets to that point, they win those next two games, then all of a sudden that's a huge game, right? And they might be playing for the division. So there's so many layers, I think, right, to this game. I do wonder if the Saints were looking ahead a bit, right? You're playing the Chiefs at home next week. Mm-hmm. But I mean, I'm not trying to sound like every talk show. They need Drew Brees back, I think, right?
I was just thinking the same thing. Taysom Hill is definitely not Drew Brees. I think his athleticism and how elusive he is in the pocket and his ability to create plays is good, but he doesn't have the accuracy on the deep throws that Brees has, and that's plain and simple. I mean, he missed Emmanuel Sanders in the end zone yesterday, and that should have been a touchdown. Drew Brees makes that throw. Taysom Hill missed it by a couple yards, so. They need him bad, long story short. Absolutely.
Yeah, and I don't know if they're going to get him back. I mean, I think that's,
Yeah, I mean, punctured lung and 11 fractured ribs, that's going to take a while.
Yeah, no, for sure. And looking real quick at the Saints record, so they play the Chiefs, then they have the Vikings, and then they have the Panthers. So two of those three are home. The next are at home, then they play at the Panthers. So I think, right, the takeaway for them, and I'm not trying to be like, hey, But no, I think what's big for them is now they slip out of that 1 seed, and I don't know how good that like. Right? Do you like them matching up against someone like the Cardinals in the first round if Taysom Hill's starting? Like, no,
not at all.
So, right, especially when there's no fans in the Superdome. So they I don't know. They really them losing that bye I think hurts them a lot.
I completely agree. They need that bye so they can give a week for Drew. If Drew Brees is still out, so he can rest and it doesn't hurt them from playing. Where they're playing a game to potentially lose. So,
and I think Iris the Keebler Masters, or sorry, no, always your number one fan, has a really good point too. The Eagles won that game with a lot of injuries. Right, it wasn't just the quarterback change. Right, I mean they've made some obviously every type of switch on with their offensive line this entire year. They've been injured on the defensive side of the ball, right? So I mean, Darius Slay was out, so they definitely stepped up to the plate and delivered here. So I think and it's an easy game to give up on, right, with no fans in the stands and stuff. So I mean, they came off to a good start. They had a lot of pep in their step, a little spark, and they looked better.
Yeah, no, I'd say so. The whole team just looked different, totally different. The defense, the way they played, looked like a top 12 defense in the NFL, which we haven't seen all year from them. And their offense, there was a spark, I mean, Jalen Hurts ran for over 100 yards. and when's the last time they had a quarterback run for over 100 yards?
Yeah.
Maybe Mike Vick. I don't know. But
well, and here's the thing. Let's spin it over because you're talking about good defenses. This is not me trying to, give you bad news and stuff. But
I know where you're going.
What happened?
Here's the problem. Yeah, the problem when we're talking about the Cardinals and the Giants game is, I really appreciate when you call it bravery or just toughness to want to play when you're hurt, okay? But you could blatantly tell early in the game that Daniel Jones was not even remotely like 70% healthy, in my opinion. This is not an excuse. It's more just a game plan perspective. I don't know why they had him in the game. It was pretty clear, like scrambling with Daniel Jones is part of the game and part of the offensive game plan and part of their play calling. He couldn't do any of that. He didn't rush for any yards. So, like,
he's not the Ben Roethlisberger that can step back there on one leg and just kind of, just pick a defense apart.
No, and his decision making went back to the Daniel Jones of 5 weeks ago, where he just didn't look comfortable. He was careless with the ball.
Yeah, Son Riddick had 5 sacks.
5 sacks, yeah, exactly. And I mean, kudos to him, but Daniel Jones had no mobility, and it's beyond me that they didn't have Colt McCoy in at least for the second half of the game, because at that point in time, a Colt McCoy gives you a better chance to win than a 60 or 70% Daniel Jones, in my opinion.
Yeah, and a 26-7 loss, 26-7 loss, not, what you said. We talked about this. I said it was going to be a not so inspiring, kind of a bad loss.
Yeah, we did.
It's also fair after going across the country and winning a game like that. Right, if I just told you that you're going to split between Arizona and Seattle, would you take that?
Absolutely, yeah. You take that every day. I mean,
now here's the problem. You gotta.
Yeah, no, the schedule's
there's no more mulligans. This is it.
The worst we can finish. I mean, I think we get 7-9. I think could take the division. Honestly, I think Washington. I think their offense is going to hold them back. Their defense won them that game blatantly yesterday. Their offense wasn't doing anything. So I think the Washington football team is there for the taking. But if the Giants are going to win the division, they got to take care of the business themselves. Having that tiebreaker is big. And
let's talk about Washington real quick. I'm not trying to be the I told you so guy. You know that.
Well,
I've been championing this thought about how good their defense is and how all their offense needs to do is just be all right and they're good to go. And they did that without Gibson, right? I mean, they're not bad. They're not a bad team.
No, they're not.
So all right, before we jump in, because I also want to give the Cardinals some respect real quick, actually. Let me just dip into that. I mean, that's a big win for them. I mean, right, to go out there and across country and win when everything wasn't really going right and all the question marks with them. And their schedule gets interesting because they host the Eagles, like we just talked about. Then they host the Niners, who's, I mean, technically, I guess, there anyway, and then at the Rams. So, it's all right in front of them, too. And the Vikings lost yesterday, so that helps them a lot.
Yeah, for sure. No, the Cardinals absolutely, they took advantage of Daniel Jones being hurt, and their defense shined, obviously. There was a stat, I forget, there's a certain statistic that shows like the certain number of how much separation you get from a cornerback if you're a wide receiver. I forget the exact metric, but all 4 of the Giants wide receivers were way below average yesterday. So that says a lot about the secondary and their coverage on the receivers yesterday. They played a great game, and they came in. They needed to win. And if you look at the trends, that's kind of how this game was going to play out. The Giants were coming in winning 4 in a row. Cardinals lost 4 of 5. The Cardinals are way too talented to lose 5 of 6. Of course, I wanted the Giants to win, obviously, but I did not have a good feeling this Sunday, long story short.
No, it was like the perfect storm. You guys are feeling really good about yourselves. You guys have been riding high. That they need a win. They're starving. And yeah, I mean, I think it's a big win for them. Now, looking at Washington real quick. Mm-hmm. See, here's the thing. All right, look at their schedule. So they play Seattle at home. That's probably the most losable quote. I don't know if that's really the right word to use, but right, that game on their schedule.
Yeah.
Then they play Carolina. That's not good. And they're at Philly, which is an interesting game because you don't really know what's gonna be on the line. It would be interesting if the Eagles win their next 2 games. Right, I feel like you're actually in a weird way. You're rooting for the Eagles to win their next 2 games.
Why? So they have something to play for.
Yeah, because right, like they're not really in your way. You're still a half game up on them. You're gonna have to win out if you want to make the playoffs.
Yeah, at the end of the day, like I said, I think 7 and 9 would get us in personally. I really do. I feel like the Panthers, they're like a sneaky team that sometimes plays really well, and I feel like they could show up on a game against Washington. I don't know.
And here's I mean, honestly, you can hear him barking. He knows.
Yeah, right.
He knows what's up. It's so funny when you're reading. I had no idea what you were doing before the show. Dude, let him bark. We love him. Yeah. He's the official mascot of the show. All right, but looking real quick, I saw the playoff graphic pulled up here, and this one doesn't really do a great job like tipping the hand of the East, but it's obviously just for the general seeding and whatnot. So you're saying 7 wins can win the division? I don't know. I think you're gonna need 8, dude.
Oh yeah,
you don't think Washington's going to win 2 of those 3? I mean, I don't know. They could.
I think they're going to come down. They're going to come down soon.
Well, so here's the thing. All right. So here's the biggest question: is Dwayne Haskins playing? Because that's what I have in my notes. That's the question, right?
Yeah. I mean, if Dwayne Haskins plays, then if I think
if he plays, they'll probably lose all 3 games.
That's what I'm saying. They'll lose all 3, 100%.
I mean, I don't know about that. I mean, I can't. All right, I can't. We're joking in that sense. I would say. You lose to Seattle, you beat Carolina, Philly's a toss-up would be like just if I had a gun to my head, right, with them.
Yeah.
But here's the thing, I'm not sure that guy. Like we keep saying, like, oh, you just got to win out. You got the Browns, who are 9-3.
Then
they're good. They're a good football team, apparently, right? Then they got, and not to mention, then they play the Ravens, who for tonight, which is the team you got next on the road.
Yep.
And Dallas. So if you can somehow escape these next 2 games, and yeah, you got a shot.
Yeah. So
you think you have one more loss in the budget?
I mean, in a perfect world, no. But I just don't. I don't think the Redskins are a team that can that will put up that'll win out or put up 8 wins. I could honestly see them losing to Seattle. I could see them losing to Carolina. They got
dude, they suck.
But dude, they're like
they suck. No, come on. That was seriously my lock of the day yesterday. They couldn't even beat the Broncos, who really had nothing to play for. Back-to-back road games for them. They just lost it on primetime. Gave the Chiefs everything they could handle. Look, I'm even drinking their cup right now. Look at that. See?
But here's the thing. All Washington has, with all due respect to Alex Smith, I think he's phenomenal. Best story in football. All they have is their defense. Antonio Gibson's a good running back.
Like, all that guy's job does, it doesn't pay much, but he's got amazing benefits. It's like, well, that's important. Like, it's, you know what I mean? Like, I mean, I've said this before, and I'll say it again. I think when you almost if everyone in the NFC East had like a garage sale and like everyone has their table and they're setting everything out on their driveway, like with what they're selling for the people to come by, I think Washington's defense, when they put that on the table, that's the best product that you could buy at the NFC East yard sale. Like. You know what I mean? Like that's got the most value in it. And I think it's for me, I even say this, we said like, all right, well, who would you not want to see? I'd probably start with Washington because I'd say I don't want to play their defense.
Right.
But they had a really good pass rush. I don't know. I mean, there's so many.
It's understandable. It's scary. Their defensive line is scary. You know?
I know.
But I'm saying they don't have anything like I said, Antonio Gibson is a solid running back. But besides that on offense, and with all due respect to Alex Smith, there's nothing super explosive there. So you got to be able to score.
And yeah, I mean, by the way, is Ron Rivera in the talk for Coach of the Year possibly?
I think he's definitely a candidate.
I think so. I think absolutely.
Yeah, I mean, with all the offseason, craziness, and then they didn't start well. Obviously, they lose 2 quarterbacks, and then Alex Smith comes in, and they're 6-7. Man, it's not like they're 6-7. They're almost 500. So
yeah,
and they were a team that wasn't even in conversation in the NFC East for several years. So
I hate dry skin, by the way.
Yeah,
I hate it.
Winter time.
I know. I put on my hands. I need to do my neck and stuff. I hate it. But you're right, and I think it's tough because if Gibson can run free, it's a problem.
Yeah.
If you're the other team, obviously it's a problem.
Absolutely, he's a good receiving running back too.
These next few weeks, I mean, obviously there's only 3 weeks left to go in the regular season, but it's like, dude, a lot's going to come out of this. I obviously, but there's like these games are rich games. You know what I mean? It's like you're not playing like at like New Orleans, or it's like, oh well, that's a tough game, right? Like it's like, okay, like these are games you got to win. Like no one knows each other. You're feeling each other out. Like both, like obviously Cleveland has some holes. They might lose, but the problem is they lose tonight. Then it's like, oh man, like are they really going to lose again? Like
I know that's what I'm thinking. I'm like, in a way, I do think Baltimore wins tonight, but in a way, I almost want Cleveland to win, so that way they're not like angry.
And then Baltimore has their get right game the following week.
Yeah, right. And to me, as a Giants fan, that would be the ideal situation. The Browns are a very steady team, but they can be beat. So,
Also, speaking of the AFC North, let's talk about a team that certainly can be beat. And we talked about Dallas beating them themselves, the Bengals. They suck. Dude, they suck.
That's just a franchise. I don't know what. There's just such a dark cloud over that franchise.
It's like that ominous sky that I feel like is always over it. Like when they're playing at home, that's kind of in a nutshell. I feel like. I mean, just look at this play again. Good God, is Zach Taylor getting fired after this year?
I asked myself that question this morning when I was watching highlights, and something tells me no. And that's only because of Joe Burrow, and they won a second year, and he didn't get a full season.
Yeah, they'll do one more. Unless Joe Burrow wants him gone, then.
Right. Exactly. Unless Burrow didn't like something or whatever. Yeah, I agree. So, it's doesn't look good, but I think he's going to be around.
And then I can't believe I'm saying this. I'm like, Dallas is in it. Let me read their schedule out. I mean, right? They play the Niners, then they play the Eagles, then they play at you guys. They're the team where they probably have the most control, if you will, right? Like, plus, well, I'm trying to think. They lost both times. They lost both times to Washington.
Yeah.
So
right.
I
think they're pretty much toast.
They're pretty much done.
All
right, so they got to win out.
I don't see us losing to them week 17 personally, but you never know.
And lucky for you, they'll have probably nothing to play for at that point.
That's what I'm thinking,
Yeah. Now, all right, to that point, is there any other takeaways from that one? That 37 beatdown?
I think the takeaways are that the Bengals are just giving up and basically just hoping for another hit on draft day. And that's all I can really say about it, because the Cowboys didn't even have the sexiest line. Their defense looked good, but the Bengals offense is just that bad.
So bad. That's one of those games. It was just brutal. Andy Dalton revenge game. Going back to Cincy and getting the dub.
Yeah. Hey, they showed him some love, so that's cool.
Yeah, we got trust cooking. Heads up, trust.
There we go.
If you want to do anything with the Giants, we feel free. We touched upon that one already, but Zach's obviously here to take.
Always open for Giants questions and venting.
Yeah. I know.
I was in purgatory again Sunday. I was listening to the game on WFAN.
Dude, just text me.
I was driving. I was down the shore, so I was driving.
Okay.
I don't mind listening at all, but it was like one of those things where you're like, oh.
It's the worst. I feel like it's the worst listening on the radio when you're losing. You feel like you're suffocating, kind of, because you're painting a picture in your head of how bad it is. It's always worse than whatever it actually is.
By the time I got home, there was 6 minutes left. I didn't even need to bother to watch the rest of it. So
yeah, that's tough. That is, but I'll tell you, it's interesting. A team that's been having a tough go, if you will, is the Bears. They dropped 6 straight. I mean, good God. But they, I wouldn't even say it was really, it was a get right game for them or whatever, but a good win for them.
I'm surprised how they were able to keep Deshaun Watson in check.
36-7. Yeah, They really kicked their ass.
They did. I was not expecting that. I was expecting maybe a shootout, but
and Mitch looked good, right? I mean,
I'm telling you, dude, Nick Foles is not their quarterback. It's Trubisky.
Yeah, I mean, I think the answer is C, none of the above for that, right?
Yes.
I mean, okay, but to that point, that's why actually I wrote down my notes. Like, he played well, but he's probably gone. I don't know. Matt Nagy might be on the hot seat. Like, is there any takeaways? Like, right, like this to me seems like it's like getting roses after the breakup already happened. It's like I don't know. I think it's too late for that.
Get it. Yeah, I think the Bears off season and transactions and storyline is going to be probably one of the and for you it should be entertaining, especially within that division. But it's going to be one of the most entertaining and interesting storylines this whole offseason, in my opinion. Like, what do they do with Matt Nagy? What are they doing with Trubisky, Foles? A lot of question marks.
And I love what Neil's saying in the chat too. Just could you imagine being the passenger? I can't even imagine. Is there a lot, are you yelling in the car when you're listening to the radio? Yeller?
Oh yeah. I had Ozzy up front, and Nina was in the passenger seat. Nina probably thought I was a psycho more than she probably already does. So
that's all right. Emily came over and saw the first Packers game with me on the Eagles one, and it was we traumatized her a good bit. She was a good sport for hanging in there, but it's we're gonna try again for the Panthers one. So
there you go.
See, that one I should be able to more self control because obviously the zip code and the history of last year, them losing to the Eagles, that was
right.
That adds to the stress.
It doesn't burn. It's not as much of a burn.
Yeah. Oh wow! So you have a temper, Zach.
Wow.
I mean, it's all right. Anyone that's ever watched the Packers game, I think knows I should probably be checked into a psych ward. So don't worry about it.
Well, I'm with you. Hey, Uncle Ricky coming at me. I took the Ravens tonight. I'm showing the Ravens love tonight.
Oh wow! Oh, look at that little seat preview. I love it.
Yeah.
All right, that's it. Real quick. Anything else for the Texans? Any notes on that game?
Not really. I mean, I guess the Bears are still in it for the playoffs, right? Technically, are they still in the wild card chase?
So here's the question, right? It's funny. It's a perfect segue, Zach. How am I supposed to sit here and be like, yeah, why not? You're still alive. And then we're like, the Vikings, we're going to turn around and be like, they're 6-7 too. It's like, nah. I look at this. If you ever see the Dark Knight Batman reference for our lovely fans, to me, now that the Vikings, this is kind of rolling into them losing yesterday. To me, the way I look at this game coming up, because they play the Bears, I believe, next week in Minnesota, it's like that scene in The Dark Knight with the pool stick where he's like, all right, we're going to have tryouts, right? It's like, well, someone's dead after that game. But the reality is neither one of them are probably going to have a good experience, really, throughout that entire excursion, right? So that's kind of what I look at with this. I don't think either team's going to make the playoffs. Whoever loses next week, it's over. Whoever wins, okay, you're in it a little bit, right? You're 7-7. Like you're on life support.
But life support, exactly.
But then all of a sudden, whoever that is, they're also huge Eagles fans next week because you're chasing the Cardinals.
Oh yeah, that's the competition right there. It's
and even maybe Washington a little bit, but not really because they're going to win the division if they play well. I mean, the only thing I could that would be kind of bad. I mean, if you want out and Washington want out, it'd be everyone. You guys might get in.
We could possibly get in, yeah.
Yeah, so there's definitely reasons to care.
Oh yeah, I think adding that extra wild card team, and that's from here on out, right? That wasn't just for this season.
Yeah,
right. I think that makes things a lot more interesting. I was against it at first, but I think I'm liking it now.
And I love what Josh was saying about Devontae on his fantasy team. He's good. I mean, he's. Well, I didn't draft him. It's going to haunt me, but hey, it happens. I'd rather have Saquon than not have any points. But that's
hey, you had the second overall pick, right? If you picked Devontae second overall, I mean, people would probably think you reached. So
yeah.
Even though in reality you wouldn't have.
But. No, but hey, hindsight's always 20/20, right?
Right.
All right, but to that point, let's look real quick at this Vikings-Bucs game. I think the general taste, if you missed it, was hey, Dan Bailey missed 4 field goals. Kirk Cousins was pissed. Dan Bailey missed. That was bad. Tampa probably didn't really deserve to win the game a whole lot, but they did win the game. They're 8-5, I believe, right? Yep. Yeah. So I don't know. Like, where does that really leave us? You know what I mean?
Yeah, it's just one of those games where you would expect the Patriots to win, or Patriots. I'm thinking Tom Brady. Jesus, the Buccaneers.
Yeah, all right. Hey,
that's a game you expect the Buccaneers to win, especially off of a bye. Building that team camaraderie that they were talking about that they didn't really have as much. So there's really nothing to write home about here, I don't think. Besides, like you said, Dan Bailey. I was checking out, doing some fantasy. Looking at some of the matchups, and I saw he had like -5 fantasy points. So that stings. Talking about fantasy.
Yeah, and I think what's interesting too, you look at Tampa Bay though, they're at Atlanta, and then let's take a look at the schedule real quick. It's at Atlanta, at Detroit, and then they're home against Atlanta. So they could technically, finish off 11-5. So they're probably stuck. Could they catch the Saints if the Saints lose to Kansas City next week?
Yeah, I think they could.
Over that.
I think if Breeze doesn't come back in the regular season, they absolutely could.
That'd be wild.
It would. But hey, nothing would surprise me. So
no,
because the Saints are known to taper off towards the end.
Yeah, you're right. And I'll tell you, sticking in the NFC South. Yeah, let's stick in the NFC South. Denver with a gritty win. We were just talking about, I did not expect them to win this game. 32-27. I think the takeaway is Drew Lock doesn't suck. Maybe the Panthers do.
So I'm going to ask you a question. Drew Lock or Daniel Jones?
That's such a good question.
Not to get totally sidetracked here, but I'm just thinking to myself.
Hey, let me think about that.
Because it's tough. And while you're thinking, this Broncos
team... numbers make me chew harder on it. I'm not putting you on the spot. I don't know if you do or not.
Not off the top of my head. I'll just talk about the eye test, like visually when you watch them play. But while you're thinking, this Denver team is so confusing to me. Like, I feel like on defense they have players there, and their defense is never really horrible, but they're not like the best. They're not horrible. And on offense, they have a ton of talent, but they have Pat Shurmur as their offensive coordinator. It's like that's my go-to.
Well, how it always goes back to Pat for you.
It does, but I just don't get it.
Hey, it would explain maybe why their offense is a bit stagnant.
You have Melvin Gordon, Philip Lindsay. I don't understand you don't get more out of them, but
when he gets fired after this year, I think I maybe say Drew Lock.
Yeah, hey, dude, I don't blame you.
I don't know. I feel like the safer answer would say is Daniel Jones, though.
I think.
But then he turns the ball over too much for me to actually want him.
That's what I'm saying. I think they're kind of the same player, except I think Jones is more elusive and more athletic from like a running perspective and just overall athleticism. I think Jones is more athletic.
I'm trying to think.
But I think Drew Lock throws a much better deep ball.
Yeah.
More accurate.
Yeah, let's pull up this. Let me pull up this clip again. Look. He just drops this right in there to KJ Hamler. Look at this.
Yeah, Hamler had 2 catches, and they were both touchdowns, totally yards.
Yeah, they're good. Not really, but they're better. They're better than what I thought. I thought they were going to lay down and die in this game, and I think they're playing for Vic Fangio. So yeah, I don't know how much. And then it's kind of. I don't really know what you think of Carolina. They didn't have McCaffrey. They're playing against the Packers on Saturday night. I don't know. They might just be done.
Yeah, this game, both these teams is kind of just like mediocrity written all over it. It's just nothing. First year for Matt Rule or anything like that, because I think he's got a young team and they're still building culture and just overall, getting used to everything under the new regime. So I think the future is bright there, but it's just one of those years. It was first year,
Yeah.
So.
Now, what about speaking of mediocrity? This is always an easy one. Same as the game on Saturday night. They always put a couple games on Saturday night towards the end of the season, so that's kind of fun that the Pack will play then. All right, but real quick, let's look at this Tennessee-Jacksonville game. Speaking of mediocrity with Jacksonville and the team that's certainly not going anywhere. I don't know. What's really a takeaway here? 31-10, Tennessee wins. They kind of step closer. And real quick, let's just pull this up for everybody. This AFC playoff picture. They sit atop at 9-4. Indianapolis is at 9-4 as well, but it obviously that's a pretty interesting race. So we'll see. We'll see.
Yeah. I mean, this game played out as how it should have in reality. Titans should have blown them out, and they did.
Yeah,
and that's just who the Jags are.
And to that point, and that's like, it's fine. That's like completely just brushed by these games. But I mean, right, it's so what else is there to say? But right to that point, the other team is 9-4, and this was a really impressive win. The Colts really took it to the Raiders, winning 44-27. I mean, right, it was really never close. Yeah, that's a bad loss to the Raiders.
I know. What's going on with them? The Raiders.
I don't know. I saw they fired their defensive coordinator today.
Yeah, but I feel like I feel like ever since leading up to that Chiefs game, they lose that, and now all of a sudden they're just they're still drunk. Like we talked about it, they barely beat the Falcons, right, last week.
Yeah, and the Jets, they got their ass kicked by
barely
the
beat the Jets. They went on the walk off to Henry Ruggs. So it's like, all right, you lose to the Falcons, you're still hungover. Then you play the Jets. You probably should have lost that game. Are you still hungover? and then they get blown out here. It's like, if you're a good team and want to play the playoffs, the Colts are a good team, don't get me wrong, but the Raiders should have been much more competitive than they were.
It's funny too. I was watching Good Morning Football today, and Kyle Brandt did you hear what his analogy was about the Raiders?
No.
It was great. He was basically saying buying into the Raiders is kind of buying into just going to Vegas and that whole experience in general. It seems like it's gonna be great and you're all excited about it, but then after the second day, you want to go home, you just want ginger ale and crackers, you want
your money back.
Yeah, exactly. You're broke, you're hungover, you're dehydrated. That's what it's like being with the Raiders experience. It's kind of true, right? I was sitting there, I was like, yo, Zach, if they beat the Chiefs on Sunday night, they're in it. And then no.
Literally I feel like every sports personality before that game had the Raiders they could be an AFC championship team, or they can make a serious run, and now look at them. Now they're just a team that's not going to make the playoffs.
It's so bad. Let's pull up that playoff graphic again. I want to look at the AFC. I mean, obviously they're outside looking in there. If you're a Raiders fan, you're obviously a huge Browns fan. Yeah. I mean, and that's huge for tiebreaker purposes, right? I believe, and I could be wrong. I thought I wrote this down. Did I not? I want to say, and I this is now I could be guessing. Let me actually pull this up. I thought the Dolphins and Raiders might play each other.
Let's check
before the season ends, and that'd be huge. Let me pull this up real quick.
I think they do.
Yeah,
I really
Week
think 16. They do. Week 16.
Wow, so that's huge.
That could be a potential.
That's the ticket in to the because you're not catching the Colts. And you're not catching the Browns.
So here you go, Karen. Dolphins remaining schedule. They're 8-5. They play the Patriots next week, which Patriots are sneaky. 1 week they're hot, 1 week they're not. Then they play the Raiders, week 16, which is essentially could be a playoff game for the Raiders right there. Then the Dolphins play the Bills, week 17. Now, if the Bills have the division clinched already, maybe they don't play the starters, but I don't know. It's tough.
The Dolphins they're not going to be able to waltz down the line here.
No, they got to basically take this one game at a time. You can't think, okay, we can afford a loss. No, you really can't. So
that's insane.
But the biggest one to me is you got to beat the Raiders. You lose the Raiders there. So
that's huge, and that's out in Vegas, right?
Yep, it's a Saturday night game.
Oh, prime time. Saturday night. That'd be a fun one.
There you go. Yeah.
And then let's see. Look, so the Colts had 4 interceptions? Was that correct? Let me take a look real quick. Their stat line.
2 interceptions. Derek Carr.
So, okay. Well, I'm losing it, but
no.
Yeah. I mean, we'll see. The Colts can somewhere in the South.
Oh, they absolutely could. Let's pull up their schedule really quick. Actually, now that we're on the Colts. So the Colts have the Texans next week, which
that's a win.
It should be a win. Yep. Then they play the Steelers.
That might be a win.
That's going to be a close one, yeah. And then they have the Jags. So, I mean, in reality, they should finish 11-5 at worst, I would say.
Yeah.
And I don't know if Tennessee. Let's see. Not to be the schedule person, but Tennessee plays Detroit. That should be a win. Then the Packers. That'll be very tough. Probably a loss. Then the Texans. each team's on the path for 11-5, so it's going to come down to a tiebreaker.
It's a collision course. It's crazy, isn't it?
Yeah.
I don't know. I'm also looking down at this. Seattle, it finds themselves in kind of a bizarre spot. They're still in the race for the West, and they absolutely beat the brakes off the Jets yesterday, 40-3.
They took out all their frustration on the other New York team.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, right. What is there any takeaway from this one?
No, I think the Jets are just angry, and or the Seahawks. The Jets are definitely angry, but the Seahawks are just angry and they're motivated. I mean, they genuinely control their own fate. So they play Washington this week, then the Rams, and the 49ers. So that's another team. They will probably finish 11-5. They should be Washington, I would think. Should be the 49ers. The Rams is a toss-up. They could be 12-4. Who knows? I think it's 11-5, 12-4 for them.
And I'm looking at them, right? So, okay, they are... They're 9-4, and the Rams are 9-4. Okay, so look at their schedule. Yeah, so they're at Washington. So they got to win that game. Then they host the Rams. That's going to be a really good game. And then at San Fran.
Mm-hmm.
So... man. And then I'm looking at the Rams schedule because we didn't really talk about them. They absolutely hammered the Patriots. They put the Jets and they're at Seattle, obviously, and then they put the Cardinals at home.
Besides the Jets, it's not super easy.
No. I mean, it's basically like, hey, you got one free win, but the other two are going to be really hard.
Yeah, and the Rams beat both the Seahawks and the Cardinals already. It's hard, as we know, it's hard to beat the same team twice. So
yeah,
a little bit of that going against them too.
Yeah, I mean, how do you see the NFC West shaking out right now? Just for fun, just hypothesizing, if you will.
Just for fun, I really think I'm going to roll with the Seahawks. I think
the Rams are going to win. I think they're going to hang suit. Yeah, I think they're that good.
I doubted the Rams all year, and it's been backfiring all year. But I don't know. I just feel like the Seahawks have something. They're going to take that loss to the Giants, and I think something's going to catapult.
Yeah. You never know. All right, let me ask you this, though. So real quick, let's hop back over into the AFC and talk real quick about the Chiefs. So, for starters, congratulations to them. They win. They win the AFC West, which, it's every year now.
Yeah, right. An easy team, and especially, traveling into Miami. They go
Definitely.
There. They beat them. They're starting to adapt more to Patrick Mahomes and the Chiefs offense. But I mean, for the Chiefs, I said this last week, the Chiefs aren't blowing teams out anymore for the most part. It's a lot tougher, but they're still winning. So it's all that matters.
They're grinding games down. That's just a testament to how good Mahomes is, I think.
Oh, exactly. And you're 100% right. Even though he threw 3 interceptions, which, that'll never happen again in his career. I'll say that right now, and I'll bet money on it. But 3 interceptions in one game. Yeah, Tyreek Hill, dude, that guy is like the human playmaker. Every week I feel like there's a highlight of Tyreek Hill for like 70 yards down the field or 50 yards. It's just insane. Like this, him and Travis Kelce, it's scary. It is so scary paired with Patrick Mahomes. That's what scares me the most about the Chiefs.
How do you stop it?
Right, I don't know. I really don't know how you do it because Travis Kelce's already over 1,000 yards receiving. He's a tight end. He was over it like 2 weeks ago, I think, or a week ago at least. It's just insane.
I know it is, and it's interesting too. And we talked about the Dolphins on kind of like life support, if you will, not life support, but they're holding on to that last spot. But they're like if you watch those videos on when a shark attacks, it's like they're the one with a little blood leaking out.
Yeah. No, that's a good analogy, and especially because they're a dolphin. But yeah.
Oh yeah. There you go. I didn't think about that. Wow.
Yeah. No, Tua's starting to get more and more, I think, comfortable in the system, which is what you would expect. So that's good for them. I'm not counting the Dolphins out just yet, but while we're talking about them, let's see. I already said it. Patriots, Raiders, Bills. It's tough.
It's all in front of them right there.
Yeah, it is. I think they can do it, but they're going to come out with some scars.
Yeah. And it's funny, speaking of, everything's right in front of them. Now the Packers, it's a big takeaway. Yeah.
Give the Packers some love. They clinched the division. Aaron Rodgers is playing like he's the MVP. No questions asked, in my opinion.
I know it's
all right.
Times are good.
Soak this in. You know what, dude?
Oh, I did.
Take the mic, and just run with it.
Well, it's funny. I got the picture pulled up. So, Emily's amazing. And my girlfriend getting, she bought scotch for me a few weeks ago just because she knows Aaron Rodgers. Her mom bought it because, they know Aaron Rodgers loves it. So she'd asked me if I'd opened it. I said I was going to hold on to it until maybe just something special. So then about a few weeks ago, it hit me. I was kind of like, I'll do it. They win the division.
Oh, that's perfect.
If Johnny Blue, if they ever win the Super Bowl, that'll come out. But,
yeah.
The Glenlivet came out, for
nice
division wins. Yeah, all right. But
that's a cause for celebration.
Yeah. But to that point, right? Yeah, it was a great win. It's kind of a game that I expect them to usually lose or have trouble with in the past. But right, they get the win. They wrap up the NFC North. There's a lot. I think the big takeaway for me is that they hopped the Saints to get the home field advantage inside track, and I'll even pull it up real quick so you can see the NFC graphic again. And they need that, right? So I think they've been. I mean, you know it all too well. Last time the Packers had the 1 seed. The Giants knocked them out, but to that point, I will still take my chances, with having the road run through Lambeau Field and in the cold and everything, right? And this team does seem to have some savviness and some excitement. I mean, I think, as I spill over my words, because I am excited, obviously, and you just like as Rodgers said after the game, he just sat in his locker and took all the excitement in, and he just was enjoying it. And that's really what you're doing as a fan too. I mean, right? These moments don't grow on trees. These moments don't come around every day. It's exciting to see them play this well. It's exciting for it to be, especially on the offensive side, smooth as it has been. The defense is, I mean, dude, it's baseball. Our pitching staff's great. Well, it's the other way around, I guess. Our pitching staff's good, but we get enough hits just to kind of survive. I mean, but I don't know. We'll see how it goes. And I think that's a point that you take away with this team. Can you win in January? It's just going to come down to that. Yeah, I mean, it's right. Can you be the best team in the tournament? I obviously being at home, being on a bye would be huge. And their schedule is interesting, right? You're at home against Carolina. You should win that game. You're home against the Titans on Sunday Night Football. If there's ever a window to lose, that's probably it. But then on the flip side, as long as the Saints lose to the Chiefs and they were to beat Chicago and Carolina, then they still get the 1 seed. So, I mean, right, that's the takeaway. It's exciting. I mean, obviously, I'm not trying. I joked around, though. I said this to you before, and this is not me being ungrateful for what they've done so far. Everyone, I think, is saying the same thing, though, in Titletown. You want that ring. You want one with everything going on. I mean, that's the
absolutely
big. We won divisions. It's not. That's not me not being grateful for them, right? It's about.
Yeah, I get that the top of the mountain.
Yeah, exactly. So we'll see where we end up, but I don't know. That's just my inside take. The defense needs to get better. Rodgers played great. The coaching's been great. Defense lost stupid penalties, but yeah, the good win on the road. Now it's about keeping everything in front of them and rolling.
Yeah, I don't see why they can't do it.
Yeah, I hope. I mean, what do you think from an outsider's perspective?
From an outsider's perspective, your offense is just scary good. Absolutely scary. Aaron Rodgers is just playing possessed as he usually does, and he's just playing it even more this year. Devontae Adams, just your whole receiving core, just everything offensive about you guys. The running backs, Aaron Jones, it's just scary. The only potential hole I see is you said is the defense. It's not bad.
Per usual, it's like the life of Packers
fan.
Yeah,
but it's not a bad defense. It's not a great defense.
Don't break defense.
Right.
It's your heartburn.
Yeah, but I mean, you have a good defense and a phenomenal offense. That's not a shot at the defense. That's just from an outsider. I'd say offense is probably the best in the league. Defense, you're probably in the middle of the road, like 15th, 14th, 13th in the league.
Yeah, I think, and I said this the other night, the only team that I think can knock them out of the playoffs is themselves, right?
I agree.
So I think that's the thing you look at with them. But to that point, they've done that before. So it's not, that's certainly not off the table. I mean, so, that's the way I look at it.
No, I think the Packers are the clear NFC front runner right now, if you ask me. It's pretty obvious.
And I agree with the chat. Obviously, it's been fun watching Rodgers take it all in this year. And that's why I hope he can get a ring on his finger.
Oh, yeah. He deserves it.
I know. I hope so. But to that point, speaking of deserving, I don't know why I'm saying this after they won, but I still think Anthony Lynn deserves to be fired from the Chargers. Do you see how bad they played today? I mean, great, they won that game-winning field goal, but good God.
Yeah. Yeah, nothing. I think the Falcons and the Chargers are literally like that, the same exact type of team where they have talent, but they just can't win. So it just comes down to coaching and the organization, unfortunately.
It's so bad. It's funny. I'm glad I was going to make that the last game, and I forgot to put my notes earlier this morning. Let's flip into this because there's no takeaways from that game. It was just it was a game that was played.
Right. It goes down the record books, but
yeah, the Bills and Steelers though, that was a really good game that was played. And I know you're excited to do a little home away from home Buffalo.
Yeah, right. No, that was a good game to watch. The Bills proved themselves. That they're a team. They're not just just going through the motions. They're legit. And Josh Allen is playing phenomenal football. Josh Allen, like seeing from when he first came into the league and how his accuracy, especially on the deep ball, was like the biggest concern with him. I mean, he's polished up big time. That that criticism is gone now, and he's playing lights out. And Stephon Diggs, I mean, he's playing better in Buffalo than he did in all of his years in Minnesota, if you ask me.
He's phenomenal.
Yeah, they really hit that trade, very well. And the Bills they're catching their stride at the right time. I think they said if the Bills win the AFC East, which they're probably going to, that'll be the first time since like 1995, I think, that they've won the division, and that's before Josh Allen was even born.
That's insane. It's fine. Let's pull up the playoff picture real quick and take a look at it. Dude, they're right there. I mean, it's funny. They don't lose that Hail Mary game against the Cardinals. They're the 2 seed right now.
They're 11-2 then, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, that's one play.
I know. Is that crazy?
You know what's kind of cool is they went. That game was such a heartbreaker. Then they had a bye week, and then they've just been on the freight train ever since then.
Yeah, it's unbelievable.
It says a lot for Sean McDermott.
And to that point, what does this game say about the Steelers?
I know.
I mean, we talked about with Eric as a Steelers fan last week, and he was concerned about this game. And kind of, I feel like all those things that were red flags for him popped up.
They did. I mean, my biggest thing is Ben hasn't been making the best decisions. Really, I think the defense has been carrying this team. The offense has been good. Don't get me wrong, but I think you're starting to see kind of the wear and tear on Big Ben as the season progresses, as we know with his history of health, injuries and all that. I mean, James Conner yesterday, 10 carries for 18 yards. Like, really? They couldn't get anything going yesterday on offense.
So the fantasy owner?
Yeah, but I had him on my bench. So
that kind of says it all, though.
It does, right? Yeah, exactly. It does say it all. Like James Conner, you think is an RB1 or 2. Typically, regular season, he's typically out there for you, And as the season progresses, it's more so the team than it is him. It's just the team that their play calling is just weird right now.
Yeah,
and they rotate in Benny Snell, Jalen Samuels, and Anthony McFarland. It's just.
And let me ask you: do you think Buffalo's real? I mean, I know that's everyone's asking that question today, but it's like, right? Do you think they could beat the Chiefs in Arrowhead?
Honestly, man, I think they can. I think they could. I do. I think they could beat the Chiefs.
I do too.
Their offense is just all right. No, let me take a step back. Their offense isn't as explosive as the Chiefs, but it's not that. It's close. It's close. Their offense, I think. I think the Bills' defense is better than Chiefs, and I think the Bills just have something special brewing up there. I don't know.
I think they're going to win a playoff game.
Wow, 100%. I mean, yeah, no doubt about it. They're at least winning a playoff game.
But that point almost sets us up here for the game tonight, which is almost a playoff game. I'll even put it up in a betting aspect for you, just so you can see the line. The Ravens and Browns, though, tonight, Monday Night Football. The line spluttered around between 3 to 3.5 for the Ravens, and over under 45.5. It's an interesting game.
It really is.
Voice crack there, but
it's interesting. That's why. It's interesting. That's why.
Yeah, right.
It really is. I mean, before last week, the Ravens had lost 3 in a row. 3 tough games in a row. They lost to the Patriots by 6. They lost to the Titans by 6 in overtime, and they lose by the Steelers. To the Steelers by 5, and then they run train on Dallas, which anyone can do. But then on the other hand, you have the Browns who won 4 in a row, and they've been kind of having this chip on their shoulder where they're constantly trying to prove themselves, and they're doing it. But my question is it's harder to keep those win streaks alive, as we saw with the Giants this week. So it's one of those deals where can they, and the dogs feel the same way. So I hear them barking. I don't know if they can keep it up, especially against the Ravens, who's a talented team, but Lamar Jackson needs to step up. I think he will, but we'll see.
I think so too. That's my takeaway. This is a game for Baker and Lamar. They both need to shine. At least make it a good game for both of them, right? And then I like the under, especially with like 20, 30 mile per hour winds tonight. Yeah. But it's funny though, your dog's barking, because I was going to say it's actually a perfect little segue into our Mojo Monday.
That's right.
Yeah, you got to love that. So I'll go first because this happened last Monday, but Joe G, got to give him some love. The roommate doing a great job, and I thought it's funny because we found a dog on the side of the road. It's a cute dog too. Found a dog on the side of the road, and cars wasn't by and stuff. Pulled over, brought the poor little guy into his car and was able to help find his owner by dropping it off at the local SPCA. So shout out to him, and he did follow up and made sure that the dog got picked up and everything was good. I will say, I thought it was bizarre.
I don't understand that either. That's it's interesting.
Maybe you're just, I don't know. Maybe you're just a little bashful. I don't know, but I just thought that was kind of strange. But hey, that's my because obviously I always have to take on everything. So
Well, yeah. Well, hey, you have to.
But what about you?
Yeah, so mine's going back with the football theme. So this weekend, Derrick Henry now has 4 career games with 200 yards rushing, with 200 or more yards rushing, and at least 2 touchdowns. That breaks his tie with the likes of Barry Sanders, LaDainian Tomlinson, and Jim Brown. Now, let's just speak. Derrick Henry is only 26, and he's already had 4 games of over 200 yards rushing and 2 touchdowns in the same game. I mean, that's kind of like one of those stats where it's like you have to really pick to get it. It's like one of those like stats, it's not really like there's a lot of things you got to, I don't know what I'm trying to say. It's really complex, I guess, is the word.
Right, yeah.
But it's like that's super impressive. Over 200 yards and 2 touchdowns in 4 games in your career, and he's only 26. He's got many years ahead of him, I'd say.
That's unbelievable. I mean, and the thing is, he doesn't slow down. Right? I mean, think about how many times we've all kind of said, like, oh, well, this year he's going to get banged up. He's been taking a lot of hits. Took a lot of hits in Alabama. He took a lot of hits. Like, he just keeps rolling. It's a horse.
He's literally like a Clydesdale. When you watch him run, he's just like a freight train, and God forbid you get in his path.
I'm so scared. We play them in 2 weeks. That's my game. I'm like, if we're going to lose a game, it's going to be that one. I think.
No, it's like if you can just semi-control Derrick Henry, I feel like you can beat the Titans, But like semi-control, mening like he'll run for 100 yards, but just don't
give him that and then just let it be that, and that's it.
Yeah, just not 200. Let it be 100.
Oh my God, that's bad.
But to your point, man, he's like the model of just durability.
Oh yeah,
it's just incredible. Like last year, like you just said, like last year they ramped him up slow, and then all of a sudden he was their offense at the second half last season. This whole year he's been their offense, and he's still holding up and just doing it week in, week out. It's extremely impressive.
And every time, like I said, you would think at this point, but he'll burn out before the playoffs. No. And that's why they're leading the AFC South right now.
Yeah, exactly. Because their defense is in the middle of the road. Their offense, besides him, is pretty much in the middle of the road. It's literally Derrick Henry. It should be the Tennessee Derrick Henrys.
I know, right? It's remarkable. He could be the offensive player of the year in the AFC.
Yeah, absolutely, easily could.
All right, but that point, this is fun. A little Monday show. Let's I'll pull this up for everyone here. So if you want to give us a follow, if you miss out on any of the episodes, and you want to check us out on the audio. Let's say you're driving, you're traveling for work, you want to download them. Spotify and iTunes have you covered. You can check us out on there for all the latest episodes, and then make sure you follow us on social media: Instagram, Twitter, and Reddit @_GetSidetracked, and then make sure you visit our website at www.get-sidetracked.com. And you're saying, speaking of holding to 100, let's try to get to 100 followers. We're getting there close. We got 89. So try to follow us or subscribe on Twitch. It's a follow to the left for the heart, to the left with the purple heart. I can't talk. This is a Monday. This is what happens on Monday. Or you can subscribe to the right. It's free if you have Amazon Prime, and then it's also free just altogether. You don't have to have Amazon Prime. It's free to subscribe on YouTube for all the cool stuff and highlights and all sorts of fun stuff with Living Room Sports Talk. And then with the holidays around the corner, you want to catch some cool gear. I just got my neck gaiter today in the mail, Zach. How about that?
There you go.
Yeah, got a little got the neck gaiter, and there it is right there. Look at that. Ooh. Right. Check us out in the store. We always love to, love all the cool stuff and send us pictures because we always love to see them. But yeah, this was a lot of fun. Good stuff. We had a little Monday night action, and I think the Ravens somehow win. I don't know. I just think so.
Yeah, I mean, I think they're due. and I think the Browns are due for a loss, but should be good. And I think there's some fantasy implications, I'm sure, going on all over the world.
Yeah.
So should be a lot of people are going to be watching this game.
Awesome. Yeah. So, all right, so we'll be back on the air tomorrow at our normal time, 7 p.m. Eastern time. But yeah,